The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network's Structural Racism Toolkit. Structural racism in the U.S. today. Immigration. Immigration is when people move from one country to another country to live there. Immigration policy is the rules the government makes about who can come into the country, what rules they have to follow to come into the country, how long they are allowed to stay in the country, and what rights they have while they live in the country. This includes the right to become a citizen. A citizen is someone who has certain rights in the country they live in. Citizens usually have more rights than non-citizens. For example, the right to vote. In the US, you can get to be a citizen by being born here, or you can apply to become a citizen. Immigration policy in the United States is another example of structural racism. For the first 100 years of the US, there were not a lot of rules or laws about immigration policy. The earliest rules were about who could become a citizen and what rights non-citizens had. These laws only let white immigrants become citizens. People of color were not allowed to become citizens. Laws during this time usually didn't limit who could come to the US, but they did say only white people could become citizens. There were also laws that made it easier to arrest non-citizens. People used these laws to make non-citizens leave the US. Starting in the 1850s, the US started making a lot more rules about immigration. During this time, a lot of immigrants from China came to the US for work. American businesses discovered gold in California. Businesses needed a lot of people to do work. They needed people to work in mines and build railroads. These businesses hired a lot of Chinese immigrants for this work. This work was very hard and very dangerous. Many white people did not want to do it. Many Chinese people died doing this work. But after a while, gold became harder to find. When this happened, a lot of mining and building jobs went away. Then, there were not enough jobs left for all the people in California who wanted to work. The people who wanted to work were competing for fewer jobs. White workers were angry at Chinese workers. They blamed Chinese workers for taking their jobs. Politicians started passing laws that hurt Chinese immigrants. They passed laws that controlled where Chinese immigrants could live, where Chinese immigrants could work, and how Chinese immigrants were allowed to dress and cut their hair. They also forced Chinese people to leave the US. The federal government started passing laws. These laws kept Chinese immigrants from coming to America. In 1875, the government passed a law called the Page Act. This law made it mostly illegal for Chinese women to come to the US. This was the first law about who could come into the country. In 1882, the federal government passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. This law made it illegal for any Chinese workers to come to the US. These laws banned people from coming to the US because of their race. Both laws were based on racist ideas about Chinese immigrants. These two laws were racist. California also took away a lot of Chinese immigrants' rights. White people attacked Chinese communities. They destroyed the homes of Chinese Americans and forced them to flee. Many Chinese Americans were killed during these attacks. These were the first laws that stopped people from coming to the United States. The government passed more laws to ban people from different countries. Many of these laws banned people from other countries in Asia. They usually didn't stop people immigrating from Europe. In 1924, the federal government passed a new law called the Immigration Act of 1924. This law is also called the Johnson-Reed Act. It was named after the two members of Congress who wrote the law. One of the members of Congress was Albert Johnson. Albert Johnson believed in white supremacy. He believed that white people were better and smarter than other races. He thought that people of different races shouldn't be allowed to get married or have children together. He thought that people with disabilities shouldn't be allowed to get married or have children at all. These ideas are part of eugenics. Eugenics is the idea that some people have good traits and some people have bad traits. People who support eugenics think that people with good traits should have large families. They want to reduce or get rid of groups of people that they think have bad traits by making sure those groups don't have children. People who believe in eugenics think that people with disabilities are worth less. People who believe in eugenics also think that people of color are worth less. Eugenics is always wrong. Albert Johnson believed in eugenics. He believed that people of color had bad traits. He created the Johnson-Reed Act that banned all immigrants from Asia. It also banned a lot of people from the rest of the world. It said people from some parts of Europe couldn't come to America. Albert Johnson thought some people from different parts of Europe had bad traits too. Albert Johnson believed in white supremacy, so he wanted to make sure white people stayed in charge of America. The Johnson-Reed Act said only small numbers of people could come from different countries. The Johnson-Reed Act let in more white people and fewer people of color. The law was written to make the U.S. more white. This is racist. The Johnson-Reed Act made rules for everyone coming into the U.S. The U.S. used these rules until 1965. The Johnson-Reed Act made it easier for white people to come to the U.S. The Johnson-Reed Act made it harder for people of color to come to the U.S. This is racist. But the U.S. kept using those rules for a long time. Even when more people agreed that racism was wrong, they kept the law. A lot of people didn't know why Albert Johnson wrote the law this way. They didn't know the reason was racism. Sometimes they thought there were different reasons for the law, so they left the law alone until 1965. Some people in America still believe in white supremacy. They still think that America should be controlled by white people. They still think that people of color should not come to the U.S. In 2017, President Trump signed an order. This order is also called the Muslim ban. This order said that people from a list of countries could not come to the U.S. The list of countries were all countries where most people are people of color. President Trump said he signed the order to stop Muslims from coming to the U.S. Muslims are people who follow the religion of Islam. President Trump said that Muslim people were dangerous to America. This is a lie. It is also racist. In the U.S., everyone is supposed to have freedom of religion. Freedom of religion means that people can follow any religion or no religion. It is unfair to say people from one religion can't come to the U.S. It is also against the law. This is religious discrimination against Muslims. Most Muslims are people of color. The people who were banned were mostly people of color. It is racist to say that people of color can't come to the U.S. It is supposed to be against the law. People sued to stop the Muslim ban. Courts agreed that the ban was racist and illegal. The courts stopped this ban. Then President Trump signed a new ban. He gave different reasons this time, but it banned the same people. In 2018, the Supreme Court decided this ban was okay. They said it was okay because President Trump gave a different reason. It was not okay. It was still racist. Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. For more information, visit our website, autisticadvocacy.org.